Everyone could do with more storage space, and one place we don't often think about is up on the roof. So if your roof has some usable space, or you've got an existing attic that's difficult to access, then a set of pull-down attic stairs are the perfect way for you to safely get into your roof area. You can buy attic stairs off the shelf, and with a little bit of help, I'll show you how you can install them. Now, one of the first things I have to do is establish which model attic stair I'm going to use. So the first thing I have to do is measure my stud height. Now I've got a 2.7 stud height. So the next thing I have to work out is what I'm going to be using the stair for. Now, I'm only going to be using them for an occasional storage. So this is the model I'm after. Now, the next thing I need to work out is exactly whereabouts in the ceiling I'm going to install it. So I figure this is quite a good space, right about here somewhere. It's pretty close to the door, nice and easy for me to access. So what I need to do is jump up in the ceiling and make sure there's no structural members that I'm going to cut through. So just as a reference point, I know I've got some lights there, so I'm going to get up in the ceiling and have a look to see if everything's okay for me to cut that ceiling out. Now, when working in the ceiling, always be careful. Only stand on the trusses or ceiling battens and never stand on the plasterboard. So here's my light fitting that we saw downstairs, so that's a good reference point. Now I've got a truss right on the side of that, so I could attach to that if I need to. Now over here I can also see that's my wall downstairs, so I've got plenty of room in between these two trusses for downstairs. So what I'm going to do is just frame out in between these two. Everyone's roof spaces will be different. If you're not sure which parts of the roof are structural and what you can or can't cut through, it's a good idea to get a licensed building practitioner to advise you. Now, a couple of things you should note before you start cutting into your ceiling. You do want to be in the highest part of your ceiling, so what that means is if you were to come up the stairs, you don't want to bang your head on the roof above you. So being in the highest part is a really, really good tip. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is give myself a reference point for downstairs. So to do that, I've got a nice long drill bit here. It's about a 6mm drill bit. And all I'm going to do is drill down hard next to the side of our truss, because I know that's going to be my first reference point. Now, just before we crack on, we're definitely not going to be cutting through our trusses or rafters, but what we can cut through is our ceiling battens, these members here, because these are non-structural. Okay, time for me to drill our reference points. Be aware of any wires or pipes, and if you need to get them removed to accommodate your stairs, you'll need an electrician or a plumber to do that for you. Now, I've got my two reference points from the holes I drilled from upstairs. Now, just before I chop out, I need to know exactly how much I'm going to chop out. So, as per my instructions in the pack, I'm using the R28 model. So on the chart here, it says that I need a 1370 by 650 opening. Now here's just a little heads up. You just want to make sure that you've actually got enough landing space. So that's the distance from where the ladder starts from to where it lands on the ground. So we've actually got a landing space of 1180. So you want at least half a metre in front of that distance for you to access the front of the stairs. Now up in the ceiling, I know that I've got a ceiling batten that runs right next to my hole here, so I'm going to utilise that as a solid fixing point. So I'm going to start my 1370 from that hole, and I know I've got plenty of headroom upstairs so I can come back. So I'm just going to mark 1370. So I'm just going to rule a point between those two marks. Now I'm just going to use my rafter square to give me 90 degrees. If you don't have a rafter square, you could use the edge of a custom wood sheet or plywood sheet that's 90 degrees. Now I'll just mark my 650 wide. So I just mark 650 down this end as well. Now I'll just square that off our line and transfer that mark all the way down. Cool, she's all marked out. Now the next thing is cutting it out. Now we're just about ready to cut into the ceiling. So one of the best tools you can use for this is the multi-tool. Now I've got a jib cutting blade on there. Now all I'm going to do is just go the bare minimum, so it's just through the jib only. We can cut out all our ceiling battens later. Rightio, all I have to do now is remove my plasterboard. Now, by using the multi-tool, I just made sure that I was only cutting through the plasterboard and nothing else. So what I'm going to do now is just use a handsaw and cut through all our rafter battens. And if you're not sure what to cut, always check with an LBP first. Now the sides of my attic stair are 90mm high, so I'm going to be flush with the bottom of the ceiling, and it's got to come up 90mm from there. So I can fix into the bottom chord of this truss, but as you can see, I also need to fill in the gaps here just to ensure I've got complete solid fixing. So we're also going to have solid fixing in between our two trusses. So that'll be a 4x2 sitting on the top of that ceiling batten, running across from there. Also running on the top of these ceiling battens and across on that end, as well as filling in between these battens as well. So just got to slip in my ceiling batten, and just to make it nice and easy for myself, I'm just going to screw those in place using some 75mm square drives. Now whilst I'm up here, I'm just going to fix our plasterboard to our new nogs, and doing that I've got some 32mm drywall screws. Cool, now all I need to do is frame out the same on this side. What I'm doing here is building a solid frame for the attic stairs to attach to. And there you go, a nice solid frame to take our stairs. Now, our frame's all ready to take our stairs. What I have to do is prep these stairs a little bit before they can go in. So the prep work I have to do is pre-drilling some holes on the sides and also attaching our screw eye. So as per our instructions, I have to come in 160mm from each end. Now, I've already got some holes pre-drilled on the ends here, so we don't have to worry about that. So I'm just going to set my set square to the same distance. That's 25mm down. So I'm just going to mark that around, and I'll just repeat the same down the other end. Now I'll just mark my 160 and same for the other end. So I'm just going to pre-drill a 5mm hole. Beauty. Now all I have to do is the same for the other side. Right, the next thing we have to do is just pre-drill a hole in our stairs to take our little hook eye. Now as per our instructions in the pack, we're going to drill a hole that's in line with the back end of screws and just make sure that it's in the centre. Now there's just one last thing I have to do before I install the stairs in the hole. I've made these little cleats here to help me out to hold the stairs just temporarily in place. So what these are going to do, I'm going to screw these to our framework. They're just going to sit like that. I'll screw them up and they'll just spin around and hold our stair. So I'm going to attach these to about 150mm in on the sides here, and then about 200mm up on this end here. Now in our instructions it shows us using a cleat that attaches to the ceiling on either end for our attic stair to sit on. That's totally fine, you can do it that way. However, attaching these cleats is just going to make the job a lot easier. Beauty, now we're ready to install our stairs. Now, as you can see, I've asked a mate around to help me out. Rightio, so the next thing I have to do is pull the stair down, and we're going to start fixing in from the hinge end first. Now, part of our kit, we've already got these screws, so I'm going to attach these in the back plate first on the hinge end. So now I just have to put my screws in on the sides. I'm going to start with the end first, and I'm just going to make sure that it's still sitting hard on our cleats so we're flush with the bottom of the ceiling. Now, we're not going to screw that in tight because we want to use those screws as adjustment later. Cool, now we can remove our cleats. Rightio, now all we have to do is shut our unit and have a look. Okay, now as you can see, I've screwed this side in way too far, so I need to release that screw a little bit and move that one over. So what we're after is a parallel line from the back edge of our frame up against our custom wood sheeting. So we have to release this first screw, and we'll just tighten up this side here. That'll allow the frame to move over. Now just keep adjusting the screws until you're happy with the fit. We'll take that a little bit more. Okay, that's looking nice and square and parallel with our side. So one last thing I have to do is just cut some packers that fits between our frame and our 4x2 timber frame. So to do that, I'm just going to measure that gap between our space. Okay, so I've got 12 millimeters there, and I've got 4 millimeters down here. Okay, all my packers are cut. Now I'm just going to slide them in there. It's quite a nice little tight fit. So now that we've got our packers in, I just want to make sure that the packers actually haven't pushed it back out of square. So it's just one last quick little check. Yep, that's looking absolutely fantastic. So what I will do is just tweak those screws just a tiny little bit just to hold the packers in extra tight. Next thing we want to do is cut these stairs to length. So we'll just fold them out. Now these have been made a little bit longer on the bottom. So if I lay those out, you can see it's not a straight line. So all we do is fold that back. We take a straight edge or a long level. We're just going to sit that on our stairs and project that line all the way down onto the floor. So we'll just mark on the floor exactly where they land. So we just mark this side as well. Now what I'm going to do is just mark the back of the straight edge, and I'm just going to use that for our length on our stair. So I'm just going to mark that side. That'll be indicating the right, and I'll just check to see if it's the same length on our other side. And we're exactly the same lengths. Now I can use that mark to transfer onto our bottom step. So before I do that, I'm just gonna unscrew that bottom step so we can cut it off. Now I'm gonna have to cut an angle on the bottom of these steps. So what I'm gonna do, I could use a sliding bevel, but more than likely most people won't have one of those. So what I'm gonna do is put the back point of our steps on our pencil mark that's on the concrete. And I'm just going to rest those on the stairs. I'll just take, you could use a block of timber or anything. So all I'm doing is scribing the angle of the floor onto our stringers. But now, I'll take that. I've got my length, so I'll put that flush on there. That's the length I marked on my straight edge. Mark that on both sides. So all I have to do now is transfer that angle up to that marked parallel. So an easy way to do that is just by measuring that distance. 106, 106, and we just rule a line. So I'll just do that the same on the other leg and chop it off with a handsaw. Now just to finish that off, I'm just going to use my block plane and just take those sharp edges off. Now that's for two reasons. One is to stop it chipping when it lands hard on the floor, and it's just going to also give it a nice edge for when we paint the stairs later on if you want to. So I'm just putting a slight bevel on the front part of our steps as well. That's also going to help to stop it splitting when it lands hard on the concrete. Lovely. Now all we have to do is attach it back to our main stairs. To tidy this up, I've finished it off with an architrave around it. Right, that's the job done. These set of stairs have helped open up an otherwise unused attic space for storage and given us a safe way to get up there.